The smell came before the sight. It wasn't a normal smell. It was heavy, sticky, and clung to the back of the throat. Detective Sergeant Greg Stone had smelled death before, but never like this. Even through the gloves and mask, it hit him hard. He told one of the younger officers, "Open the door slowly." The old bank vault creaked like something alive. Inside, the air was cold but thick, like the room itself was holding its breath. 6 barrels. Big, blue, plastic barrels lined neatly against the wall. Someone had tried to clean around them. There was bleach on the floor, old towels, and buckets, but the smell was stronger than anything man-made. "Get the lids off," Stone said. The first lid cracked open, releasing a hiss of trapped gas. The officers jumped back. Then came the wave, the smell of rot, of something that had been dead far too long. Inside was gray skin, swollen and floating in dark liquid. Someone whispered, "Oh my God!" Another barrel, and another. Each one opened a deeper level of horror. One detective had to step outside, vomiting on the pavement. Another froze in shock, tears welling up as he realized the truth. These were people. Real people. 9 bodies in total. 9 human beings who had vanished from the world. Sealed away like trash. Outside, the wind howled across the empty main street of Snowtown. The world kept moving while evil hid behind a locked vault door. Stone stared at the barrels and muttered, "This isn't one man's work." Months earlier, back before anyone smelled death, Snowtown was the kind of place where nothing ever changed. People left their doors unlocked. Kids played in the dirt road till sunset. The loudest sound at night was the windmill creaking in someone's backyard. And then John Bunting arrived. He drove an old car, wore cheap shirts, and always had a half-smile that made you feel safe. He'd wave to neighbors, bring groceries for old Mrs. Harper, and fix bikes for the local kids. People said, "That John, he's one of the good ones." But while he smiled, he studied. He listened when people complained about thieves, about troublemakers, about anyone different. He remembered names, and he started to form ideas. He told people that the world was full of filth. He said bad people deserved punishment. At first, it sounded like just talk, small-town chatter. But John believed every word. He spoke with a strange calmness, almost like a preacher. He said, "Someone has to clean this world. The police don't do it. Maybe we should." People laughed it off, but some didn't. The making of a follower. Robert Wagner met John when his life was already falling apart. He had no real family, no money, no direction. John offered him food, a bed, and, most dangerously, a sense of belonging. John made Robert feel seen. He told him he was strong, special, chosen to help. Robert believed him. Then one night, John said he wanted to show him something. Inside the shed, the air was thick with fear. A man sat tied to a chair, blindfolded, shaking. John stood beside him, calm, hand behind his back like a teacher in front of a class. He said, "This man hurts children. He doesn't deserve to live." Robert whispered, "Are you serious?" John nodded. Completely. What followed was hours of horror. The man begged, cried, promised to change. But John's voice never wavered. He told Robert to help, to be brave, to do what was right. By the end of that night, the man was gone. John patted Robert's shoulder and said softly, "You did a good thing." It twisted Robert's mind. He had killed, but somehow felt proud. John had planted a seed. The list. After that, John began keeping a notebook. Inside were names, people from around town. Next to some of the names, he wrote single words: weak, filthy, useless. Each time a name was crossed out, someone disappeared. Neighbors talked about it quietly. "Oh, haven't seen Barry in weeks." "Yeah, he probably moved to Adelaide." But John knew exactly where Barry was, inside one of his barrels. He wasn't killing for money or revenge. He was killing because he believed it was right. He called it cleaning. He said he was doing God's work. And the people around him, desperate to belong, followed without question. The bank. When John found the old bank in Snowtown, it seemed perfect. Empty, forgotten, quiet. He rented the vault through a friend. Told people he wanted to store tools. But inside, he brought something else. Plastic barrels, buckets of acid, rope, knives. He turned that vault into his tomb. Each victim was placed carefully, sealed away. He said he was protecting the world from evil, and for a while it worked. No one came near the old bank, until the smell began to leak through the walls. The call. It was a woman who finally broke the silence. She had once been close to one of the missing men. For months, she had felt something was wrong. People kept disappearing around John Bunting. When she tried to ask questions, he scared her into silence. But she couldn't sleep anymore. She called the police. Her voice shook as she said, I think John did something terrible. That one call cracked the case open. Detectives followed the trail. Old addresses, missing person files, rumors. Each step led closer to Snowtown. When they finally reached the bank, the smell told them everything. Back in the vault, Detective Stone stood over the barrels again, sweat mixing with the cold air. The entire building buzzed with shock. Cameras flashed, radios crackled, but Stone barely heard them. He was staring at the walls. Plain concrete, quiet, lifeless, wondering how something so ordinary could hide so much death. Outside, townspeople gathered behind police tape. They whispered. They cried. Some refused to believe it. John? No, he wouldn't hurt a fly. But the proof was right there, sealed inside plastic. Stone looked at his partner. This isn't random, he said. This was planned, organized, controlled. The partner nodded. You think he had help? Stone's eyes darkened. He had to, because there were too many victims. Too much work for one man. Someone else had opened those barrels. Someone else had held them down. And whoever they were still out there. The sun began to set outside the bank. Red light spilled through the dusty windows, painting the room like blood. The barrels sat silent, their secrets finally exposed. Greg Stone took off his gloves, his hands shaking. He had seen murder before, but never evil this calm, this deliberate. He whispered to himself, evil doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes it smiles at you every day. Detective Stone stood over the barrels again, sweat mixing with the cold air. The entire building buzzed with shock. Cameras flashed, radios crackled, but Stone barely heard them. He was staring at the walls. Plain concrete, quiet, lifeless, wondering how something so ordinary could hide so much death. Outside, townspeople gathered behind police tape. They whispered. They cried. Some refused to believe it. John? No, he wouldn't hurt a fly. But the proof was right there, sealed inside plastic. Stone looked at his partner. This isn't random, he said. This was planned, organized, controlled. The partner nodded. You think he had help? Stone's eyes darkened. He had to, because there were too many victims. Too much work for one man. Someone else had opened those barrels. Someone else had held them down. And whoever they were still out there. The sun began to set outside the bank. Red light spilled through the dusty windows, painting the room like blood.